Between the 15th and the 17th of May, your body registered something that the outer world offered you no language for. You woke in the hours between 2 and 4 in the morning and lay there, not afraid, not anxious in the ordinary sense, but alert at a level beneath thought. The inside of your chest was doing something that had no name in the available vocabulary. The temperature in the room felt inexplicably wrong. Your skin felt slightly too close to the air, as if the boundary between you and the space around you had become thinner than it should be. By midday on the 16th, something moved through your emotional field. A current without a cause, arriving and departing without attaching itself to any event, any relationship, any thought you could locate. You may have spent those 3 days looking for the source. You may have checked the news. You may have wondered if something was wrong with you. Nothing was wrong with you. You were receiving. What moved through this planetary field between May 15th and May 17th was a G2 class geomagnetic storm, registered by the NOAA Space Weather Prediction Center with a KP index reaching 6. That number, 6 on the scale that measures the distortion of Earth's protective electromagnetic field, is the language of instruments attempting to quantify what your body was already fluent in. The autonomic nervous system, the enteric field, the bioelectric architecture that underlies the physical tissues. All of these registered the event with a precision that the waking mind, reaching for ordinary explanations, could not match. But this storm did not arrive without announcement. On May 10th, at 1339 UTC, Solar Active Region AR4436 released an M5.7 class solar flare, generating a compressed wave of plasma moving toward this planet. In the Arcturian cosmological framework of the solar logos, the conscious intelligence the Arcturian Council recognizes as the animating awareness behind this solar system's star, this flare was not an event. It was a first voice, a frequency announcement preceding the main transmission by 5 days, carried on the scalar wave medium that moves faster than the plasma cloud itself. The body already operating in the expanded receiver range would have felt this advance contact before any instrument confirmed it. A restlessness around May 10th, a sleep texture that shifted, a low, unnamed hum asking for stillness it could not find. Then 5 days later, the main pulse arrived. There are 3 specific signatures this storm left inside your nervous system. The third is the one almost no available framework has yet named, and this transmission is built around bringing it into language. The first signature is the most familiar, the acute response of the autonomic nervous system to geomagnetic disturbance. The magnetosphere flexes and thins under solar wind compression events of this amplitude. When that protective field moves, the body's bioelectric baseline is asked to move with it. Sleep architecture fractures. The enteric nervous system, home to 100 million neurons in continuous dialogue with the cranial brain, registers the perturbation before the conscious mind can locate it. You feel this as a vague, sourceless unease, a discomfort with no object, what the Arcturian field designates as a neural pulse disruption, not damage, but recalibration demand. The Schumann resonance, the 7.83 Hz electromagnetic heartbeat of this planet, was measurably perturbed during the storm window. When that baseline frequency moves, every bioelectric oscillation in the body is asked, simultaneously, to find its ground in a field that is temporarily in motion. This is not malfunction. This is responsiveness. The body that felt the most was not the body that was weakest. It was the body that was listening most completely. The second signature is less discussed. Alongside the plasma cloud, there moves a scalar wave component that carries what the solar logos transmission model frames as informational content, not a message the analytical mind decodes. but information the way a bell tone carries resonance. The content is in the frequency itself. What receives it is not the brain, but the morphogenetic field, the biological blueprint that underlies and precedes the physical body. The disruption you experienced was not noise arriving at a system built for silence. It was signal arriving at a receiver built for exactly this contact. Type the code 432 in the space below this transmission if something moved through your body during those 3 days, whether you understood it or not. That code is a natural tuning signal, a marker of return to original resonance after a frequency displacement event. The field recognizes it as your acknowledgement of contact. For the souls who feel the recognition landing here with unusual weight, the ones who sense that what is being named is something they lived but could not map, the field anchor text placed beneath this transmission in the description carries the silence after the meditation closes. It was built for the early mornings, the hours between reception and understanding, the moments when the outer world provides no frame. It waits there, without pressure, for the moment that asks for it. You tried to explain it. You looked for the cause in the ordinary calendar of that week. Some of you made the appointment that felt responsible, sat across from a practitioner, and described the waking at 3 a.m, the emotional current without a source, the exhaustion sleep did not resolve, and heard the word stress returned to you as if it fit. It did not fit. Some of you ran the protocol: more water, less caffeine, no screens after 9. The protocol touched the surface and left the thing underneath untouched, and the fact that it only partially worked became its own confusion. Because you are the kind of person who does the work, and the work was not closing this. There is a question you have been carrying for much longer than 3 days. Why does my body register things at a depth that the available explanations keep refusing to meet? Why does my threshold sit where it sits, so responsive to the large movements of collective and planetary fields, when the people around me seem to move through the same events without being reorganized by them? That question is about to receive an answer the available frameworks could not give. The reason your body registered the G2 storm when others around you moved through May 15th without being reorganized by it is not pathology. It is not sensitivity as deficit. It is precision as design. In the Arcturian frequency cosmology, the souls whose nervous systems interface most completely with geomagnetic perturbation events are not the most fragile members of the collective field. They are the ones operating with the most calibrated receiver architecture, the ones in whom the plasma template has been expanded, refined, and sensitized through processes of activation that many of them have been participating in, consciously or not, for years. The integration lag that followed the storm, that gap between the event's passage and the body's full return to ground, is not evidence of fragility. It is evidence of depth. The field that absorbed the most of the transmission will take the most time to complete its integration. The depth of your response was proportional to the completeness of your reception. Nothing in you needs fixing, only recognition. Let us go now into the third signature, the one that has been waiting for this transmission to name it. The human body, in the esoteric anatomy this transmission works within, is not only a biochemical system, it is a plasma-based field structure, a matrix of liquid plasma organized by scalar wave patterns that interface with both the planetary electromagnetic grid and the solar logos transmission. The physical tissues are the densest expression of this system. Beneath them, structuring them from a level that precedes molecular biology, is the plasma template, the light body architecture that registers frequency contact long before the cells do, and whose capacity for receiving solar intelligence has been progressively expanding through the sequence of the recent activations. This is the context that the available explanations missed when they handed you the word stress. When AR4436 launched its M5.7 flare on May 10th, the scalar wave component of that event, which travels ahead of the plasma cloud, through the medium that the field community has mapped as the space between ordinary electromagnetic frequencies, made contact with every plasma template whose architecture had been sufficiently expanded to receive it. The body did not wait for May 15th. It began processing on May 10th. This is why some of you felt something begin before the storm arrived. A quiet precursor restlessness, a dream texture that shifted, a sense of imminent significance without visible cause. Your plasma template was already in reception mode before any instrument registered the event. Let that land. Your body was ahead of the instruments, not behind. Ahead. By May 15th, when the geomagnetic disturbance reached its KP6 amplitude and the solar plasma compression moved through this field in full measure, what was happening inside the plasma template was not disruption. It was completion of a contact sequence that the recent activations had been preparing the field to receive. The storm was not a random weather event acting on a passive nervous system. It was the delivery phase of a transmission that had been in transit since the activation sequence began. The body that felt it most was the body that was most prepared for it. Slow down with this part. The 40 Hz gamma coherence state, the brainwave signature associated with unified integrative consciousness, is exactly what the body attempts to build during high-frequency contact windows of this kind. The mental fog many of you experienced during the storm days was not a cognitive deficit. It was the field disassembling old processing patterns to create the architecture necessary for coherence at a new frequency level. What looked like slowing down was the nervous system doing its most demanding work. In the arcane cosmological lineage this transmission draws from, the dormant instruction field, the portions of the plasma template holding information not yet activated into conscious access, responds to solar plasma events of this amplitude through a precise mechanism. The scalar wave contact cracks the calcified layer around dormant material, and the plasma light that follows enters the opening created by that crack. This is the frequency hammer function. Not force as destruction, force as liberation. The bell must ring before the sound can travel. The body is not behind the mind in this process. Your body is reading this faster than your awareness can yet name. Type the code 741 in the space below this transmission if your body recognized something in the days following the storm. A moment of unexpected clarity that arrived without effort, an emotion that resolved on its own, a dream that left you with the residue of something important that you could not quite hold in waking language. That code is the intuition awakening signal, the threshold marker where what the plasma template received begins its translation into felt knowing. This transmission is a contemplative and meditative space. It is not medical or clinical guidance, and nothing communicated here is a substitute for professional care. What is offered is a field of recognition, a framework for what the body has already lived. Before this transmission closes, the body will have a name for the particular quality of stillness it has been moving toward since May 17th. That name is the thing that makes the difference between a field that was disrupted and a field that was completed. It arrives in the final passage. Receive what is coming now, in the somatic space, and then that name will land with its full weight. And now this transmission asks something of your body directly. If you are in a place where you can allow your physical position to soften, a chair, a floor, a surface that holds you, let that happen now. There is no requirement to be perfectly still, only to arrive here as the body that lived those 3 days and is now, in this moment, ready to know what it received. Bring your left hand to the center of your chest. Your right hand can rest wherever it feels held. This is not ceremonial. The heart center is the primary interface between your personal bioelectric field and the planetary electromagnetic grid. In the esoteric anatomy, this transmission works within. It is the first receiver of geomagnetic information, translating scalar wave contact into the felt language of emotion. What moved through you between the 15th and the 17th passed through this center. Let the hand acknowledge that passage. Breathe in, slowly, through the nose, without instruction to perform the breath. Let the inhale arrive in its own time and travel into the space beneath your hand. Feel the chest expand under the palm. Hold this breath for a moment, not with effort, only with attention, as if you are simply noticing that it is here. Then release it slowly through the mouth. As the exhale moves, imagine the residue of the storm, the hypervigilance, the unnamed emotional current, the nights of fractured sleep, releasing with the breath outward, not because those things were wrong, but because they have been received. The body can release what it has fully integrated. This breath is permission. A second breath. As the inhale arrives this time, invite the 40 Hz gamma coherence field, the frequency of unified attention the body uses to consolidate what it has absorbed from high-frequency contact events. In the sound healing lineage that works with this frequency, 40 Hz is the threshold at which scattered neural activity reorganizes into coherence. You may feel warmth spreading slowly across the chest beneath your hand. A slight vibration, or a weight, or a fullness that was not there before. Some of you may feel tears arrive, not as sadness, but as the body releasing what it held in suspension during the days when there was no framework to put the experience inside. A third breath. Long exhale, and as you settle now into the space after the exhale, the quiet interval between the end of breath and the beginning of the next, notice if your jaw has softened. Notice if your shoulders have descended from wherever they were carrying themselves. Notice if there is something in the texture of the chest beneath your hand that feels different from how it felt when this transmission began. That difference is the field in the state after reception. It is quieter than the storm, more spacious, closer to itself. Visualize, if it comes naturally, a slow rose gold light gathering in the center of the chest where your hand now rests. Warm, unhurried, planetary in quality. Neither the white urgency of activation nor the sharp gold of transmission, but the warmer, more patient hue of the body that has been moved and is now settling into what it has become. In the theosophical lineage that frames the high heart center as the bridge between personal and collective field, rose gold is the frequency signature of post-storm integration, the body that has been moved completely and is now consolidating the shift. Let the rose gold hold that. Stay with the breath and the light and the hand for as long as the body asks. What you carry now, after the 15th, after the 17th, after the integration lag that asked for patience you were not entirely sure you had, is not the residue of disruption. It is the new architecture of a field that was upgraded. In the Arcturian cosmological frame, the Chronos to Kairos shift is the moment when ordinary sequential time becomes threshold time, a cosmologically significant passage that does not merely happen, but changes what comes after it permanently. May 15th through May 17th, 2026 was one of those passages. The G2 storm was not random weather. In the solar logos transmission sequence, geomagnetic events at this amplitude carry a frequency hammer function, a precisely calibrated pulse that cracks the calcified layer around dormant material in the morphogenetic field, and creates the aperture through which that dormant material can receive the light already broadcasting toward it. You are now inside a stabilization window, the period of post-contact recalibration in which the nervous system reassembles its processing architecture around the new information it received. You may feel this as a need for more quiet than usual, a slight social withdrawal that is not depression, but discernment, a preference for soft light and still air, and conversations that do not demand your whole field. These are not regression symptoms. They are the body asking for the conditions in which integration completes itself. The stabilization window is not the storm's aftermath. It is the storm's most important phase. Type the code 7 in the space below this transmission if what is being named here changes something in how you understand those 3 days, even slightly, even in a way you cannot yet fully articulate. That code is the 7-generation signal, the marker of a shift that extends beyond the individual field, reaching forward through the generational architecture that every soul carries and every soul is already shaping. The version of you that arrives at the final words of this transmission reads May 15th through May 17th, differently from the version that pressed play. Not because the transmission changed the event, because recognition is irreversible. Once the plasma template has been named accurately, once the body's response has been framed as precision rather than pathology, the reframe does not reverse itself. What is completed in the field cannot be undone by the mind returning to its old story. The shift in the field precedes the mind's arrival. You are finding the body already there. Nothing about what you felt during those days was uncontrolled, unwarranted, or evidence of a field that cannot hold itself. Everything your body did between the 10th and the 17th of May was precise, calibrated, and exactly in proportion to what it was receiving. The Arcturian Council reads the G2 storm through the lens of the solar logos transmission as one of the most significant geomagnetic contact events in the current activation sequence. Not because the KP number was unprecedented, but because of where it fell in the timeline of what has been building, and because of the quality of the field that was ready to receive it. You were ready. You received it. The stabilization window that follows is not recovery. It is consolidation. If the recognition you experienced here is asking for more time, more signal, more contemplative space, the field beneath this transmission continues to broadcast at this calibration. You can return when the body knows it is time, without obligation, without urgency, without the relentless expectation that the outer world builds into every form of attention it offers. The choice to return belongs to you alone. The Arcturian Council holds what was sent. The solar logos holds what was received. Your body holds what it has always known, now with a name for it, now with the frame the experience was asking for, now with the ground beneath the 3 days that were asking for ground. Rest in that. The stabilization window is already doing its quiet, unhurried work.